We're diving deep into Blue Lock today.
Oh,
This
yeah.
Japanese manga about creating the world's best striker.
Sounds pretty straightforward, right?
You would think so, but
Yeah.
it gets so much deeper than just like, your typical sports story.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
It really digs into the psychology of all of it,
Okay.
competition,
Mm-hmm.
and what it actually takes to be great.
Yeah, what makes someone great?
Exactly. And it doesn't just like stay on the surface.
Right.
It really makes you think about this whole debate of talent versus genius.
Uh-huh.
And it kind of relates to, a lot of the real world research we've looked at, like about mindset,
Yeah, yeah.
deliberate practice.
I think a lot of people have probably heard of that one,
Right.
but it goes deeper than just that,
Definitely. And it's interesting to see how it plays out in this fictional world
for sure.
with these, like larger than life characters.
I think it's so interesting how they portray talented learners versus geniuses. Like
Right.
they're pulling from Carol Dweck.
Yeah, the growth versus fixed mindsets.
Exactly. And you see it so clearly with Isagi.
The protagonist,
Yeah.
Isagi Yoichi.
He's not like, some prodigy.
Right.
He's more the embodiment of that growth mindset.
Believing that you can improve.
Yeah, through hard work and effort.
So it's not just about what you're born with.
Right. It really challenges that notion.
You see that in how he analyzes his mistakes
Yeah.
and he refines his strategies and never gives up.
He really embodies grit and perseverance.
Those are such buzzwords these days.
They are, but I think they really apply here.
Yeah, I think Blue Lock is making a statement
Oh, for sure.
about the limitations of raw talent.
I think so too.
Take Nagi, for example.
Yaji Seichiro.
Yeah, he's presented as this incredible natural talent.
Almost effortless, right?
Yeah, you watch him and you're like, how does he do that?
Like it comes so naturally to him.
But he actually really struggles when
Here-
he's up against a really challenging opponent.
Someone who can match him?
Yeah, or push him beyond what he's used to. The manga is kind of suggesting that even geniuses
Can fall into that fixed mindset,
Towards
and they
them.
rely too much on what comes naturally.
and they don't put in the work to keep growing.
Right, because growth is so important even for those who seem naturally gifted.
Which brings us to
Anders Ericsson.
Yes, his research on deliberate practice.
Such a game changer.
It really is. And I think Isagi really embodies those principles.
In what way?
He's so methodical.
Yeah.
He's constantly pushing his limits.
He's always seeking feedback.
Yeah, to improve his game.
Right, and you see the contrast with characters like Bachira Meguru,
Okay, yeah, he's such an interesting character
incredibly creative.
and instinctive.
So natural on the field.
But without structured challenges, he doesn't really grow as much.
Right, he needs that push.
It's like Blue Lock is saying that you need both
You need the talent
and the deliberate
to
practice.
truly excel.
It's like that saying, genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration.
Exactly.
It's not enough to just have the natural ability.
You got to put in the work.
You got to hone those skills.
Yeah, and it's not just about mindless repetition.
Right? It's about quality,
It's about that focused effort,
pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone,
targeting specific areas for improvement.
and being open to feedback.
Right, always seeking to refine your technique.
You really see that in how Isagi approaches his training.
He's constantly analyzing his weaknesses.
And then he designs drills to address those weaknesses.
Like he's got a plan.
He's very strategic.
And the manga isn't just about individual journals either.
Right.
It's about how these talented learners and geniuses interact
How they can actually push each other to evolve.
in a way that they couldn't if they were just training alone.
Like iron sharpens iron.
Exactly.
And it's so fascinating to see how they portray that dynamic.
Think about Isagi's strategic play.
Yeah.
How that forces geniuses like Rin to think differently,
Outside the box.
adapt, and further refine their skills.
And then you have the brilliance of players like Naji.
Yeah.
That pushes Isagi to come up with even more creative solutions.
To broaden his strategies.
It's like this symbiotic
They
relationship.
both benefit from each other's strengths and weaknesses.
It reminds me of those studies about diverse teams.
Yes.
The ones that show that teams with a mix of naturals and strivers often outperform the more homogeneous groups.
Because they bring different perspectives.
Different approaches to problem solving.
The naturals might have the initial spark.
But the strivers are the ones who fan the flames.
Keep that fire burning.
And you see this reflected in those crazy intense flow state battles in Blue Lock.
Oh, yeah.
Where the players are just completely in the zone.
Pushing each other to their limits.
And the way they visually depict those battles in the manga
So cool.
is incredible.
They really capture that feeling of being totally immersed in the moment.
Skill and challenge in perfect balance.
That's the key to flow.
It is, and it makes you think about how we can create those conditions in real life,
To tap into that flow state more often.
right? Because it's such a powerful state.
Mihaly, Csikszentmihalyi.
Ooh,
The guy who developed the theory of flow,
okay.
he said it's about finding that sweet spot between challenge and skill.
where you're pushing yourself.
but not too much.
Right, you don't want to get overwhelmed.
But you need enough challenge to stay engaged.
Because it's not just about working hard.
Right, it's about working smart
Setting the right challenges.
and finding that zone where you're fully absorbed in what you're doing.
This brings us to a really interesting point about Blue Lock.
What's that?
It's not just about talent versus effort.
It's both.
It's this nuanced interplay
Right.
where both are essential for mastery.
Characters like Itoshi Sat are great examples.
Oh, yeah.
He's a genius player.
But he's also incredibly dedicated.
To analyzing and refining his skills?
He doesn't rest on his laurels.
Nope. He knows he has to keep pushing.
To keep improving.
To stay ahead of the game.
He's a perfect example of how innate ability and deliberate practice work together.
And this actually aligns with research.
Oh, really?
Studies show that people with moderate talent but a strong commitment to deliberate practice.
They can actually surpass those who rely solely on natural ability. I love that.
Me too.
It's so inspiring.
And Blue Lock also shows the problems with pitting talent against effort.
Like a zero-sum game.
Exactly.
Where it's one or the other.
Like the clash between Isagi and Kaiser.
Yeah, they're so focused on proving who's better.
It almost becomes destructive.
It's only when they start working together
that they achieve those extraordinary results.
It's like the manga is saying, hey, this isn't a competition where only one person can win.
There's room for both talent and effort to coexist.
And they can even complement each other.
And that collaboration can lead to greater results than just cutthroat competition.
It's a good message.
I think so too.
It's about recognizing that true mastery
requires a combination of talent and effort.
And that working together can be more effective than trying to outshine each other.
Now, Blue Lock also explores this concept of symbiotic evolution.
Symbiotic evolution.
Yeah. On a team level,
okay,
the presence of these geniuses
raises the bar.
It pushes everyone to adapt.
And refine their skills.
We see this with Bachira and Rin.
Okay, yeah.
Initially, their skills are unique.
Like Bachira's dribbling.
And Rin's shooting.
But as others catch up,
those skills become almost expected.
So they have to keep innovating.
It's like this constant cycle of pushing and pulling.
The geniuses drive progress.
And the talented learners push them to constantly evolve.
It creates this dynamic environment where everyone benefits.
Exactly. The geniuses provide the spark,
the innovative ideas,
the new techniques,
and the talented learners.
Through their hard work and dedication,
force the geniuses to stay ahead of the curve.
To keep raising their own game.
So Blue Lock might present this really intense competitive environment.
It does.
But it's ultimately making a case for both talent and effort.
You need both.
For individual growth and collaborative synergy.
Absolutely.
To achieve true excellence.
It reminds us that even in sports,
something that seems so straightforward,
there's so much more going on beneath the surface.
This whole interplay of psychology,
skill development,
the dynamics of competition,
and collaboration.
It's so much more than just who's the most talented.
Right. It's about so much more than that.
It's about mindset.
It's about strategy.
It's about pushing yourself beyond your limits.
And working together to achieve something greater than you could on your own.
But while Blue Lock offers all these fascinating insights,
we do have to be mindful of the potential pitfalls.
Of that cutthroat system.
That constant pressure.
And threat of elimination.
While it's effective in accelerating growth,
it could also be damaging.
To those who don't thrive in that kind of environment.
It's a good point.
It raises questions about the ethics of pushing people so hard.
And the potential toll it can take on their mental health.
Exactly. We have to think about the balance between pushing people to their limits.
And ensuring their well-being.
Which brings us back to Carol Dweck.
She advocates for environments that reward effort and progress.
Over perfection.
It's about promoting that growth mindset.
So that people can thrive without the fear of failure.
It's about finding ways to apply the principles of deliberate practice.
Like structured training.
Focused feedback.
Pushing beyond comfort zones.
But in a way that supports individual growth.
Without creating a toxic or unsustainable level of pressure.
It's about taking the best of Blue Lock's approach to talent development.
The focus on deliberate practice.
The importance of individual growth and collaborative synergy.
But applying it in a more balanced and ethical way.
So it's not about throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
It's about learning from the extremes.
It's finding that middle ground.
Where we can push people to be their best.
Without sacrificing their well-being.
It's a delicate balance.
But I think it's one worth striving for.
Absolutely.
So what do you think are some of the key takeaways from Blue Lock?
I think one of the biggest is that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to success.
Everyone's different.
Right.
We all have our own strengths and weaknesses.
And we need to find the training methods that work best for us.
It's about understanding yourself.
And embracing both individual effort
And the power of collaboration.
because we can achieve so much more when we work together.
Absolutely.
And I think Bullock also reminds us that the journey is just as important as the destination
It's about the process.
of striving, learning, and growing.
That's what shapes us into the best versions of ourselves.
Exactly. It's about embracing the challenges,
The setbacks.
failures.
Because that's where the real growth happens.
And that's where we discover our true potential.
One thing that really stood out to me of Blue Lock
Yeah.
is how it tackles this societal bias
Oh, yeah.
towards naturals.
It's like we're so quick to be impressed by raw talent,
Right.
more so than by hard work.
It's like we just assume they're better.
Like they were just born with it.
Exactly.
It's that naturalness bias we were talking about.
That tendency to favor those effortless geniuses.
Right.
And Blue Lock really calls that out.
Shows how that can lead to overlooking people who achieve through grit and determination.
Think about Isaji.
Yeah,
He's kind of dismissed at first.
because he's not flashy,
He doesn't have that prodigy thing going on.
but he consistently
Proves him wrong.
outmaneuvers and outperforms opponents who underestimated him.
Because they were blinded by that bias.
They thought talent was everything.
But Blue Lock is like, nope.
Look at their dedication,
Their strategy.
their relentless pursuit of improvement.
And it's not just about how we perceive others.
It's deeper than that.
Blue Lock shows how this bias can impact the individuals themselves
Like this pressure
to downplay the effort.
to make it seem effortless.
Because if you're struggling,
putting in a lot of effort.
then maybe you're just not as good.
Like you're not truly talented.
It's so messed up.
It is.
But Blue Lock flips the script.
Shows how Isagi's constant striving
His willingness to embrace challenges.
leads him to surpass those who just rely on their natural gifts.
It's like a message about perseverance.
Anyone can achieve greatness
Through hard work,
and dedication.
it's okay to struggle.
It's okay to not have it all figured out.
That's where the growth happens.
It's about changing our perspective
From viewing effort as weakness,
to seeing it as the fuel for excellence.
it's a powerful message.
I think so too.
It can change how we approach everything, the
Education,
workplace.
personal growth,
It's about celebrating the journey.
not just the destination.
Now let's shift gears a bit
Okay.
and talk about the environment where all this is taking place.
The Blue Lock facility.
Yeah, it's not just a training web.
It's like its own character.
Shaping the players in such intense ways.
It's high pressure,
Like a crucible.
designed to push players to their absolute limits
Make them confront their weaknesses.
and discover hidden strengths.
It's like Anders Ericsson's idea of purposeful practice,
Under the guidance of a mentor.
but taken to the extreme.
And that mentor,
Coach Ego Jinpachi,
oh yeah, he's something else.
part genius,
Part mad scientist,
he gets how elite performance works.
but he's not afraid to push them.
To the brink,
He uses unconventional methods
sometimes even controversial,
to break them down.
and build them back up stronger.
He creates these crazy, challenging scenarios,
Pits players against each other
uses psychological manipulation,
to forge the world's best striker.
like he's trying to create the perfect storm for talent to flourish.
But it makes you wonder about the ethics of it all.
Right.
The manga doesn't shy away from showing the toll it takes on some of them.
It raises questions about the balance between pushing limits and ensuring well-being.
It's a good reminder.
That even with the best intentions,
The pursuit of excellence can have a dark side.
we need responsible mentorship.
To recognize that not everyone thrives under that kind of pressure.
And we need support systems.
To help people navigate those challenges.
It's about finding that balance,
Between challenge and support.
pushing individuals but giving them the resources they need.
So we can learn from Blue Lock.
But we have to apply those principles responsibly.
Let's focus on Isaji for a minute.
Okay.
He starts off pretty average.
But he goes through this incredible transformation.
It's a testament to deliberate practice.
And the Roroth mindset.
He might not have those flashy natural abilities.
But he makes up for it with hard work.
A sharp mind.
And this drive to
He
improve.
was like a sponge.
Absorbing information.
Learning from every mistake.
Analyzing
To
everything.
refine his strategy.
He approaches football like a puzzle,
Carefully studying each piece.
figuring out how it all fits together.
And it's that methodical approach.
That commitment to constant improvement.
That allows him to outperform those who initially dismissed him.
He becomes a master strategist.
Able to see what's coming.
Exploit weaknesses.
Create scoring opportunities out of thin air.
It's pretty amazing.
But Isagi's journey goes deeper than just skills and tactics.
Right.
It gets into this whole psychological dimension.
With the concept of his monster,
That's where Blue Lock gets really interesting.
it taps into some deep psychological territory.
Isagi's monster represents his ambition,
his drive to win.
that primal instinct to dominate,
It's his shadow self.
the part of him he tries to hide.
Because it feels selfish.
Like it goes against being a team player.
It's like he sees it as this dark force.
Something to be feared.
But Coach Ego sees the power of that monster.
And pushes Izagi to confront it,
To embrace it.
to harness it.
This aligns with Carl Jung's theory of the shadow self.
The idea that we all have these hidden parts of ourselves.
The darker impulses we try to deny.
But Jung said that integrating the shadow is essential
For personal growth.
for becoming a more complete and authentic version of ourselves.
So it's not about suppressing our ambition.
It's about understanding it
Integrating it.
and learning to channel it in a healthy way.
You see this with Isagi.
When he embraces his monster,
He doesn't become a villain.
he becomes more effective,
More decisive.
more confident.
More willing to take risks.
He unlocks this hidden power source.
That fuels his growth.
It's a message about self-acceptance,
Embracing all aspects of who we are.
even the parts that make us uncomfortable.
Because those parts might hold the key to our greatest strengths.
And this idea of transformation,
Applies to other characters too.
especially the geniuses,
Like they also have their own internal struggles.
their own journeys of self-discovery.
Take Nagi, for instance.
He's incredibly gifted,
But he seems bored at first.
almost apathetic.
He's never had to work hard.
So he doesn't have that fire,
That drive.
that hum.
But Blue Lock forces him to confront his limits.
He meets players who are just as talented,
But they have that determination.
that grit.
He starts to realize that talent alone isn't enough
He needs a reason to push himself,
to ignite his passion
to find that joy in competition.
and the satisfaction of earning those victories.
Blue Lock awakens something in him
This potential that was dormant.
because he never had to tap into it before.
And we see this with other geniuses too.
They all have their own obstacles to overcome,
Their own fears and insecurities.
their own paths to finding their true potential.
Like Bachira.
He's so creative and unpredictable,
He plays with this childlike joy
but he struggles with isolation.
and a fear of losing his individuality.
He's used to playing by his own rules,
He resists teamwork.
but Blue Lock forces him to confront that fear.
He realizes that collaboration doesn't diminish his creativity.
It actually enhances it,
He learns to adapt
to contribute to a collective goal.
without sacrificing his unique style.
He discovers that the whole can be greater than the sum of its parts.
That by working together,
They can achieve something extraordinary.
this brings us to one of the core themes of Blue Lock.
The interplay between talent and genius.
How they push each other to evolve.
It's this symbiotic rivalry.
A dynamic where talented learners and geniuses benefit from each other.
They challenge each other,
Push each other to grow.
elevate each other's performance,
It's like a dance.
where both partners are learning and adapting.
Constantly pushing each other to new heights.
You see this between Isagi and Rinatoshi.
Rin is one of the most naturally gifted players.
He's got speed, agility, and skills.
But he's got a bit of a superiority complex.
He thinks his talent is enough.
He underestimates Isagi.
Thinks he's just another hardworking player.
But Isagi's strategic mind and work ethic force Rin to confront his limitations.
He realizes he can't just coast on talent.
He has to think strategically,
Analyze his opponent.
push himself harder.
And this rivalry benefits both of them.
Isagi learns from Rin's physical abilities and instincts.
And Rin learns from Isagi's strategy and adaptability
Iron sharpens iron.
by challenging each other.
They both become better players.
And this dynamic plays out throughout Blue Lock,
Talented learners and geniuses.
constantly pushing each other.
It's like an evolutionary arms race.
And that's what drives the level of play higher and higher.
The combination of talent and effort
Natural ability and dedication,
creates this dynamic environment.
where everyone has to grow.
It's a reminder that we can achieve more together.
That diversity of skills and mindsets,
Fuels progress.
and by embracing challenges.
We can unlock our own potential.
But Blue Lock doesn't shy away from the harsh realities of competition.
It acknowledges the casualties,
Players who can't handle the pressure.
who crumble under the weight of expectations.
It's a tough system.
That pushes people to their limits.
And beyond.
It raises questions about the costs of excellence.
But it also shows how those challenges,
Can forge resilience and determination.
the players who make it through Blue Lock,
They're not just skilled athletes.
they face their fears
Overcome adversity.
and discovered a strength they didn't know they had.
It's about the human spirit,
Thriving in the face of challenges,
adapting and growing.
finding that inner strength.
But while competition drives Blue Lock,
It also explores the power of collaboration,
the players start to realize
that they can achieve more together,
they form alliances,
develop strategies.
recognize the value of a shared goal,
They're unlocking the true potential of Blue Lock,
moving beyond individual glory.
embracing teamwork,
recognizing that the whole can be greater than the sum of its parts.
But it doesn't mean the end of competition.
There's still rivalry,
The drive to prove themselves.
but it's channeled towards a common goal,
They're learning to harness their competitive instincts,
to fuel their collaboration.
to push each other to be better for the team,
This aligns with research on team dynamics,
like Google's Project Aristotle,
which found that psychological safety is crucial for team success.
creating an environment where people feel safe, taking risks,
Sharing ideas
expressing opinions.
without fear of judgment,
It's about trust,
open communication.
recognizing everyone's value.
And Blue Lock shows how to do this.
Even in a competitive environment,
Players who were rivals become allies.
they learn to respect and trust each other.
It's a powerful message.
Collaboration isn't just about being nice.
It's about creating an environment where everyone can thrive,
Contribute their best work
achieve something extraordinary. It's about amplifying individual brilliance,
through collective wisdom,
creativity, and
effort,
the greatest victories,
come from shared struggles
triumphs.
and growth. It's crazy how Blue Lock makes you think about stuff way beyond sports,
Right.
like how these ideas apply to real life,
Totally.
in education,
Workplace.
even just personal growth.
It's like a blueprint,
Okay, so let's start with education.
right?
How can we use Blue Lock to create better learning environments?
Environments that nurture both talent and effort.
Right, because it's not one or the other.
Exactly.
What do you think is like the most important takeaway?
Cultivating a growth mindset.
Okay, yeah, that's huge.
It's about moving away from that fixed idea of intelligence.
So not just saying, oh, you're smart or you're not smart.
Right. It's about believing that you can always improve.
Through hard work.
Dedication,
Right, he
he's
does
constantly analyzing his losses.
Yeah, he doesn't just dwell on them
He figures out what went wrong.
and uses that knowledge to get better.
Educators can play a big role in this
How so?
by praising effort and perseverance.
Not just focusing on grades.
Right. It's about recognizing progress,
Creating an environment where mistakes are seen as opportunities to learn.
not as failures.
Yeah, that's so important.
And we can use deliberate practice, too.
Breaking down complex skills into smaller steps,
Providing targeted feedback
like creating a structured learning experience,
that pushes students but also supports them.
like those spatial puzzle exercises.
Oh, yeah, those were cool.
Asaji uses them to develop his awareness
And decision-making skills.
under pressure.
We could adapt those for any subject.
Math, science, even writing,
It's about making learning engaging and relevant
and recognizing that everyone learns differently.
at their own pace.
We also have to address that naturalness bias in education.
It's easy to favor the students who seem gifted.
But that can be so discouraging to others.
We need to focus our effort and progress.
Not just grades,
Celebrate the journey.
not just the destination.
And these principles apply to the workplace, too.
For sure.
That naturalness bias shows up in hiring.
And performance reviews.
We're drawn to those who make it look easy,
But we might be overlooking those hidden gems,
who have the work ethic and the drive.
but maybe haven't had all the same advantages.
So how do we combat this bias?
That's the question.
One way is to look at a candidate's learning journey.
Not just their past achievements,
Ask about their failures,
how they've overcome patinages.
what they've learned from those experiences.
It's about recognizing that those hard-won skills,
are often the most valuable.
we need to look for that soft mindset,
That desire to learn.
that resilience,
We can also design interviews to target deliberate practice habits.
instead of just solving a problem,
Have them explain their thought process.
how they approach learning new concepts,
It's about how they learn and grow,
creating a culture of continuous learning,
where people are encouraged to experiment
to fail.
and to learn from those failures.
This brings us back to embracing the monster,
That ambition.
that drive,
Blue Lock shows us how powerful those forces can be.
like he stops
He taps into his ambition,
and achieves things he never thought possible.
but it's not about letting ambition run wild.
It's about finding a healthy balance
Between our desire to succeed,
and our commitment to ethics
teamwork,
and supporting others,
it's about creating a safe space,
where people can express their ambition
take risks.
without fear of punishment.
It's about trust and respect.
So Blue Lock
Well, it's a sports manga.
offers these incredible insights into human potential.
Talent, effort, collaboration.
It's a story that resonates with everyone
Who's ever strived for something?
who's ever faced challenges.
Who's ever dreamed of achieving something great?
It reminds us that we all have that capacity for growth.
For resilience.
We can achieve amazing things.
If we embrace our monsters,
work hard,
support each other.
and believe in ourselves.
This has been an amazing deep dive.
I feel like we've learned so much.
Me too.
And hopefully our listeners have too.
I hope so.
And that they feel inspired to go out there,
And pursue their own goals.
whether it's on the field
in the classroom
or in the boardroom,
It's all about that growth mindset.
and never giving up on your dreams.
Exact.